Okay, one more time.
Here we go. Hi, guys, and welcome to the eighth episode. I think this is the eighth episode. I don't even know. Welcome to this week's episode of WTF Science and Beyond. Each week, we're going to hang out and talk about science experiments, science in the news, or any other happening that makes you think, what the fuck is going on? I'm your host, Lady Ayla Nicole, and I'm really happy to report that Leland is back with us again
Hey.
today. So this is your second episode, so by the third episode, you might actually be a proper co-host.
Maybe.
So let's do this. Today we're going to step inside of the Biosphere 2, a fantastic failure. Leland, did you have an opportunity to look this up at all?
Yeah, I wikied, or Wikipedia, and I had heard stuff in the past about it, but just not really. Like I knew that there was some sort of drama that happened with it, but I didn't know what. Because it did come into the mainstream media, but just I didn't really pay attention. And then of course Polly Shore made like Biodome.
Yeah.
So that was
No.
that came to mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, besides that, just like looking up recently, and I was actually pretty amazed by what I read, by what they were trying to accomplish. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
And it was so long ago,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
30 years ago.
yeah.
So, fall 1991, 8 explorers in Oracle, Arizona stepped into Biosphere 2. This is an airtight 3-acre mini world that mimics the Earth's environment. A $150 million futuristic facility that was funded by businessman and billionaire philanthropist Ed Bass. And I read one article that called him like a cult leader because he basically wanted to create this to explore methods to bring about life on Mars, which now is becoming a
Yeah,
reality.
he's ahead of his time. And when people dream big, there's always going to be like naysayers, especially with what you're looking at what they're trying to accomplish, and it is like you would have to like completely mimic like Mother Nature, and like so I can see why like people would be have some skepticism about it, but whatever you
Yeah,
do at the time.
skepticism.
Yeah.
It just kills me where it's like, people have, and it's always around like nature. What was I reading one time? I can't even remember who it was about, but it was this group of people and they were like vegetarians and not smoking and like all these things that are real healthy. And they were like, oh, this cultural cult movement. And I'm like,
What color?
why? Because Marlboro hasn't gotten its claws into you?
Yeah.
And I'm not, if you smoke, I smoked too for many years. I'm not, it's no reflection
Yeah.
on you as a person, but I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
why is trying to live a cleaner life like all of a sudden makes you a cult?
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was confused. I was like, yeah, that's and like everybody. It's weird. I've been a vegetarian for quite a while now, and it's like every once in a while, not as much now because it's more mainstream and more accepted now. But like, yeah, in the past, I'd be like just at a party or something, and I would literally just be saying like, no, thank you, like, because I don't try to get on my soapbox about it or anything. I'm not like that, like pontificating like vegan or anything like that, whatever, like, but I would have people get almost like aggressive with me about it. It's weird. Like, so I'm not surprised to hear that these guys ran into like just people being like, "Bleh," because people always just want to like stick a, you know, put a stick in it.
I know, it's just so bizarre to me
Yeah,
how it just becomes a
yeah.
cult.
It just, yeah, it
Well,
is. They're sad that
Well,
they didn't get asked. I swear to God, like that. I'm like, you're just
right. Like, I don't know the cult.
because I would like that's. I mean, well, not to get in like no spoilers, but like what how it all went down. I know I would totally have been involved in the drama. But like when I hear about the rest of it, I'm like, I think I could like it would balance out. Just being a part of the big experiment would be so cool,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
So this is off in left field for a second, as we do. But talking about cults, I always like being a deadhead
Oh
when
yeah.
people get so aggressive about it, and I'm like, okay, like you don't like them. It's good.
Oh yeah, because they think we are a cult. But like a lot of things get labeled that, like even rainbow gatherings, they're like, it's a cult. And I'm like, dude, you can leave. No one asked you to come. I
Right.
mean, you weren't like everybody's invited, but like you're welcome to leave too. Same with the Grateful Dead. It's like, if anything, you got to buy a ticket. So,
Not always.
we're not trying to keep you here, but like again, like you don't have to like nobody's holding a gun to your head. Nobody's like empty your bank account and now you're my wife.
And that's really weird about it to me
Wife of
is like, you get those people that you're like, oh, I don't like whatever song it is. And it's like, how dare you? How dare you not enjoy every note that's ever been played at every show? And that's where I'm like,
There's some
whoa, you need to back. Well, you know how people get.
like, well, the best part about that song is there's enough time to go to the bathroom. There's
Which
enough
one?
time to hang out with your friends, meet up, smoke a J. There's enough
What's
time to go
what
like
song?
Desolation Row. Like
Oh,
totally go get a beer, come back, go get another
that's right.
beer, come back. There's like 12 verses, so
Yeah,
plenty of time for everything.
yeah, but those are the things that make me go like, just you need to take a step back because
Oh
you're
yeah.
like you're the reason that people get like, oh, it's that people get worried about it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. But or like, I'll have people be like, I don't like them, I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you
Well,
sorry?
I'm just like recently when people say stuff like that, I'm like, Phil just died. I'm like, we just lost Phil Lash. Could you just like STFU? Yeah, have a little respect. We lost Phil.
You're interrupting a grieving
Yeah,
process.
don't interrupt the sorrow. Dang right.
Oh, wow. Biosphere 1 is planet Earth. So these 8 people were to live in a miniature Earth to better understand fundamental processes of biospheres to improve how humans relate to our world. The goal was to spend 2 years studying how a mini biosphere would work with as few outside inputs as possible. Biosphere 2 included a complete wilderness area, a farm, and a group of humans. It had 3 main goals: education, eco-technology development, and learning how well the eco-laboratory worked. In addition, they hope to help NASA and other space agencies learn more about life support systems for long-term space missions, which is now becoming a reality. So, as we said, it's a cult.
That's a cult
The,
I could get with though. At least they're trying to put their like money where their mouth is.
yeah,
You know? So,
it might be crazy, but I'm going to pour millions of dollars into it.
yeah.
They like that. The planning and construction took 7 years. One of the many scientist consultants said, when you build a new world, you have all the problems in the world to solve. So 7 years, that's significant.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So now we're going to get into the structure and the biomes within. If you're a visual person, I recommend going to biosphere2.org and getting a visual. I'm also going to insert some pictures but they have a really cool like virtual tour that you can actually go inside of it and check
Mhm.
out all the rooms. So the hope was that the project would fire the public's imagination. The architecture was straight out of ancient Babylon. I'm just going to call it B2 from now on.
Me too.
So B2 is an awe-inspiring 7,200,000 cubic foot under sealed glass, 6,500 windows, and 91 feet at its highest point. It was sealed from the earth below by a 500-ton welded stainless steel liner. So before they even put the floor down. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
The base the basement area of B2, also known as the technosphere, covers nearly 3.14 acres. As you would expect, the engineers faced huge challenges, but they rose to the occasion like fucking bosses. There are 5 biomes inside the structure. I think the detail will help you to really fully appreciate the grandness of this creation. The first is a tropical rainforest, which has a surface of 20,000 square feet and is molded principally on the Amazon basin. When it was first populated with plants before the first crewed mission, over 400 species of plants, including 2,800 individual plants, were introduced from Puerto Rico, Belize, Venezuela, and Brasilia. 2,800. That's craziness.
That is a lot.
I'd be interested to know like how many plants are in the Cleveland rainforest just for, you know,
Yeah.
comparison.
I'm trying to remember. Like, all I can think of is like the main area when you walk in there.
Yeah. I don't know, there is a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, so they added so many species of plants, knowing that over time there would be species loss due to competition and stress. Research in the rainforest focuses on the interaction between plants, gases in the air, and water. The aim is to better understand how rainforest plants process and release these gases under changing atmospheric conditions, and how plants may adjust their water uptake strategies through a controlled drought. What is learned here could have significant implications on how we predict climate change impacts to ecosystems, which we're learning. We've got our own little experimental biome.
Yep.
Today, the rainforest has about 100 species of plants and a few animals, with the majority being insects such as ants, cockroaches, snails, and spiders. The dominant species of plants has changed since initial assembly due to both managerial and ecological factors. One managerial influence occurred in the early years. The river tamarind plant, a fast-growing legume tree species, was planted throughout the biome to shade the newly planted seedlings. This species was removed in early 1994 to give room for other tree species.
Um, I enjoy tamarind. It's good. It's sweet. But like maybe I don't know if it just is too prolific or something. It's like taking over
Yeah.
place.
The soils in the biomes were synth oh my God.
Synthesized.
The soils in the biomes are synthesized from local material with textures ranging from sandy loam to clayey loam. The lowland rainforest includes most of the eastern part of the biome. It is dominated by large trees with a ground layer of aroids. Terraces surround the east, west, and north sides of the central mountain. Small trees, including papaya, coffee, and palms, are in these areas. The ginger belts contain fast-growing large monocots such as banana, gingers, and bird of paradise. The bamboo belt of dense bamboo species was intended to screen the biome from airborne salt that might be entrained from the ocean biome. The Varzea, intended to simulate an Amazonian seasonal floodplain, is located in the southwest corner of the biome. The Tipu TEPUI, was designed to simulate a highland cloud forest. Due to high temperatures, vegetation evolved into a marsh dominated by umbrella sage and morning glory vines. The marsh system was colonized with crawfish, snails, mosquito fish, sailfin mollies, mud crabs, fairy shrimp, mangrove crabs, killifish, amphipods, sponges, anemones, and snapping shrimps. What's a snapping shrimp? That sounds scary.
Sounds dangerous.
Next is a complete ocean system originally designed to simulate a Caribbean reef. It is the world's largest enclosed mesocosm with a surface area of 35 by 20 meters and a volume of 2.6 million liters. The 7-meter deep forereef environment slopes up to a shallow lagoon partially separated by a fringing reef crest and channel. Physical and chemical parameters such as temperature, mixing, gas exchange, nutrient concentrations, and partial pressure of CO2 can be independently manipulated. Every time I see something in meters, I have to look up the conversion.
Mhm.
Every time.
I was thinking
I
it's
never read.
like more or less close to 30 feet deep, is what I was thinking.
Well, 1 meter is equal to 3.28 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and a
Just
liter,
rounding up because of the 2.8. So that's what I was thinking. Because what did you
uh,
say?
so a liter is equal to 0.26 gallons. So it's 7 meters deep.
Mm-hmm.
So about 21 feet. That's pretty
21 close.
significant.
Yeah, I guess it would be close. I was thinking deeper, but I guess that's about right. Yeah.
You could go snorkeling.
hmm Yeah, enough to like definitely be able to go swimming. And I don't know, it's like they packed it full of critters though. You
Yeah.
got your
I
snapping shrimp
I know.
coming for you.
They're small. I feel like all those little critters are small.
You monkeys.
Did I ever tell you about the time that this was only like a couple years ago, and I don't know how I came across something to do with sea monkeys, and I was like, "Hey, Ratty, do you want to raise some sea monkeys with me?"
It's never the little drawing. It's so
I know,
it's so
but I thought it would be something fun that we
Mm.
could do together. They're like, well, they have autism, so they're not necessarily on that level. Yeah, so I was like, do you want to grow some sea monkeys with me? And they researched it and they were like, well, they need at least a 10-gallon tank. And I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that.
No.
If I'm going to have a living creature, it's going to live in the environment it's supposed to live in. And I'm like, all right, forget the sea monkeys.
Yeah.
They're
You
so
could get
sweet.
a big, well, then you get the fish that likes to eat brine shrimp, and then
Yeah.
here you go.
Hey, look at the 10-gallon tank. Next, we have the coastal fog desert. It was designed to simulate an arid desert scrub ecosystem in a coastal climate with erratic winter rainfall and summer drought. Excessive rain and relatively low evapotranspiration during the initial 2-year closure uh, resulted in a dense scrub invaded by grasses.
Hmm.
Conversion, what?
I just think that's so interesting. Yeah.
Conversion,
Oh, go ahead.
no, it's all right. Conversion to a Mediterranean scrub woodland was initiated in 1994, but subsequently climate parameters were changed to simulate more arid conditions. Soils were constructed to simulate those found in arid places, ranging from immature dune sand to profiles with clay, carbonate, and salt accumulations. A plaza was designed to simulate seasonally flooded areas where salt accumulates. This area has been almost completely overgrown by salt bushes. A simulated tanaja of artificial rock supports freshwater organisms that can withstand periodic desiccation. And here's my favorite part. The mangrove mesocosm is comprised of two major wetland types: a small area of marshes dominated by grass species and a forested swamp dominated by mangrove trees. 542 mangroves and 15 freshwater trees were originally present in the area. Walls between each section are reinforced with steel rebar and have 0.6 meter wide notches, which permit movement of animals and water between sections. 542 mangroves.
That's a lot. With the other species of trees
Well,
intermingled.
I mean, they're more bushes, right?
Yeah,
But
they're kind of squat, like bushy. Yeah, and they grow like intertwined, you know. So I don't
yeah,
know, that's interesting. I'd love to see it.
that's still a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going for our overnight trip.
Yeah.
We could probably book online.
Yeah. Um, Biosphere Airbnb. I said it's the Biosphere Airbnb.
They could rebrand it.
Do I don't know. Like, are you allowed to go in there now? What's the deal?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Oh,
you can
cool.
go in and go all around,
I
and
wasn't sure if it was just like a research facility now or you can actually go check it out.
they have tours.
Oh, cool.
I mean, as I understood it, you could go
Mhm.
inside. If you go on their website, there's totally people
I'm
inside of
just
it.
like, how do they let people come in though? Because it's like they must keep it separate somehow. Because like, what if someone had like bed bugs on them or something? You know what I mean? Like you can't like
Yeah.
just have, or like have you
Now,
scrape your shoes.
now lice is introduced
Yeah,
into
or like you
the.
have to put on like this plastic wrap outfit. You have to wear a body condom.
We had those suits that we had to wear at the pot farm. What did they
Mm.
call them? They were just like these white jumpsuits that
Mhm.
if you went, like, you didn't have to wear them all the time, but I was up in the one room and like the one plant, just the one strain had gotten like all this mold all over it.
Oh no.
So we had to put the suits on so we didn't pass it
Spread it.
around
Yeah.
to the other strains. But for some reason, it was just this strain, and then the head cultivator was like, "You know what? We're just gonna rip that one out.
Yeah.
It's just prone to mold, and we're just gonna get rid of it. Like, yeah, we have enough other ones. We don't need this shitty moldy plant."
Right. Like you can't save that. It's gonna taste like crap. Oh my God. It'd be worth doing whatever they need, like even if they scrub you down like Karen Silk would, like to go
Yeah,
in there, like I'm like scrub away so I can
yeah.
yeah.
You got those little booties over your shoes and stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They give you like a throat culture on your way in.
Yeah. Well, if it was more culty, maybe he would just have like weird kimonos with like with flip-flops they have to wear like that's theirs. Come through the steam bath.
Do this. Oh, they could turn the little ocean into like a sensory deprivation tank.
Oh my God, like altered states. Oh, they have those here in town. I want to go so bad. It's like a
Oh,
something float. Yeah, my
I
friend
feel
Heidi
like
said it's
all
amazing.
I feel like all I would hear is like my ears ringing. I
Oh,
have that tinnitus. It would just be so loud. I can't even
I
imagine.
don't know. Like, I think my internal playlist would just be going off, you know. I'd be like,
Yeah.
how long if you can?
I mean, how much longer do we have? You know those the sleep sound apps that they
Oh
have?
yeah, Jesse
Uh,
loves those.
Well, I'm always like
It's
I
too
always have to
loud.
watch TV while I'm going to sleep, which I know is a really common thing. But I thought one time that I was like, maybe I'll try one of those like sleep noises and
Yeah.
just see.
Mhm.
So I like looked it up on YouTube and it was like sleep sounds, blah, blah, blah. And I was laying there and I was
Shut up.
like
I
this is
know.
total,
I
this
know.
is
It's so
totally
funny
not
too
working.
because if it was real rain or something, you probably would pass out. But I think it also has a lot to do with like the rain actually releases like lithium from the soil and like it's makes the air like make you sleepy. But
Oh shit. I had no idea.
oh yeah, but like Jesse can't sleep without a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know it's real common, but
Yeah.
for some reason like just the noise
I think
was
about like when I was younger, I straight up would like go to sleep listening to like Neil Young.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
like live Rust.
but I think I've done it as long as I can remember. Like
Mhm.
just always have had to have something on.
Course. What the hell? Like if I tried that now, I'd be like, pipe down, youngsters. Like that. I'm trying to sleep. Oh my God, Jesse. He's the worst when I'm trying to sleep.
Ugh, they all are.
Drives me crazy.
Oh,
That's parenthood is sleep deprivation. A lot of it, I feel.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Deprivation.
A lot of the time when I hear about a parent doing something nuts, like I was like, they probably didn't have a good night's sleep. I
Yeah.
bet you any amount of money.
Oh, totally. Like those pictures of Kate after Prince George was born,
Oh yeah.
she looked exhausted.
Yeah,
And I
it
was
looks
like, wow, she's really doing it. She doesn't have the nanny to get up with them in the middle of the
right,
night,
right.
like she's really
Yeah. Yep. Now I
um
know, like, and it's funny because I catch myself saying the same crap that people would say to me, but like, sleep when they sleep.
yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, yeah, if you're like a new mom and like I wish, here's the one thing that I totally regret when Ratty was a baby. I was so like I can't have her in the swing all day. Like I just can't put my baby in the swing and forget about him. And I'm like, I totally should have used that swing way more often.
Oh, the bouncy swing. Yeah, those things are
Yeah, just
cool. Jesse
yeah.
didn't like it, like, but he liked the like I had one of those like bouncy saucer things. He liked that thing, but like yeah, I had one of those bouncy swings that you hang in the doorway, and it
Oh no,
flipped
just a swing.
backwards. Like, yeah, he didn't
The
like that.
swing that makes them sleep.
Oh yeah, oh those,
Yeah.
yes, 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 those work great. We have them
Yeah.
for
I should
Lolo.
have used totally should have used that.
hmm
So the upland end of the model is a wetland ringed freshwater pond. The bald cypress, pond apple, salix, carolinea, and the southern wax myrtle are the dominant trees. The oligohaline marsh is the transitional zone between the freshwater and mangrove sections. The leather fern, Gulf cordgrass, southern wax myrtle, and the white mangrove are the dominant plants in this area. The salt marsh, white mangrove section signifies the start of the true marine area. This section is dominated by red mangrove and white mangrove plants. The back mangrove section is dominated by black mangroves, you guessed it. The northern two sections, Oyster Bay and fringing red mangrove, are dominated by red mangroves naturally.
hmm
And I love the mangrove tree, or I guess it's more like a shrub, because it's so interesting. They have particular adaptations to take in extra oxygen and remove salt, allowing them to tolerate conditions that kill most plants. How do they get rid of salt? That's so
Yeah, that
weird.
is pretty amazing. Mother Nature again.
On the run.
That is cool.
And finally, here we go. Here's the last one.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, where's my finally, the savanna biome was designed to perform several different functions. Its primary goal was to provide a hydrological transition zone between the desert and rainforest. The objective was to learn how to balance atmospheric chemistry by varying hydrological regimens within the tropical mesocosms. The savanna was to be a scaled down model of tropical savannas, both duplicating ecosystem processes in savannas and capturing essential features of biodiversity and aesthetics. Vegetation was created primarily from edible species, including acacia for bush babies, large seeded grasses for finches, and fruit bearing trees for bush babies and birds. Again, like, how fun does that sound?
That sounds so cute. Like those things are like so adorable. Little bush babies. Oh.
I know. I want little bush babies.
Yes. Yes.
So the savanna is then divided into four major regions: quartzite slope, upper savanna, granite slope, and lower savanna. The northernmost section of the savanna consists of a quartzite slope made from quartzite boulders, as you do. The Savannah Stream waterfall is located in this area. The upper savanna has three sections of vegetation. The section adjacent to the stream is composed of freshwater wetland species from the Florida Everglades, including stiff dogwood, southern cattail, Carolina willow, American crinum lily, Mexican primrose willow, and sawgrass. The gallery forest section is dominated by acacia species with a rather sparse grass understory. So let me just stop there for a second. How do you pronounce ACACIA? I have heard like 10 insanely different ways to pronounce
Isn't that
that.
acacia? That's like those
That's what
spooky trees. They have like needles growing out of them.
yeah, I heard somebody pronounce it like ACI. It was
Oh,
so weird.
Asiago bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No, I've
that's
always pronounced it acacia. Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
or acacia or something.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't I wish I could remember the way I heard somebody. And the only reason I knew it was the same thing was because like the context of it or something, and I was
Right.
like,
You're like,
not
oh.
the way you pronounce that. Typical grass species in the gallery forest include Rhodesian bluegrass, green panic grass, wintergreen paspalum, green foxtail, and the invasive para grass. Billabongs are depressions in the upper savanna. They were designed to be periodically flooded to produce a hyperseasonal habitat. And hyperseasonal environments alternate between waterlogged and dried out conditions, which will kill most trees and thereby favor grasses. The billabongs are dominated by a grass canopy of paragrass and Rhodes grass with patches of twining hairypod cowpea and phasey bean vines.
And
The
don't
lower
Matilda. And the billabong. Mm.
the The lower savanna is southernmost next to the upper thorn scrub. It is dominated by paragrass. Other grasses in this area are marvel grass, birdwood grass, guinea grass, Johnson grass, and signal grass. I would love to have, here's just totally off the subject as we do. I've always wanted to just completely rip up the lawn and put in like all stone and then just put in a bunch of like ornamental grass.
That'd be really pretty. Hmm.
I hate grass, like lawn grass. Whose idea was this?
Rich
And
people.
I don't know if it's if it's so hard to pull up all the turf or something,
Hmm.
but I would love to do something else.
Yeah. Switch it up. It's your place.
I know, I'm just thinking how much work would it be to just completely tear up the lawn, is
Um,
all I'm thinking.
I mean, at first, probably a pain in the ass, but like, I mean, it's not something that you have to like rebuild in a day. You could like, slowly add to it, you know,
Yeah,
over the years. But
I
yeah,
don't know.
like you got to make it look decent enough so your neighbors don't wig out.
Do you think I give a shit about my neighbors right now?
No,
Mm,
orange number, right?
was.
'Cause every time I think about that, I think of Dave Chappelle doing his thing, commenting
Oh.
on that. And he's
Oh!
Well, he's not wrong. That's somebody that should run
No,
for
it's not.
office. I vote for Dave.
Yeah.
Who cares about
Yeah.
hippies?
Like, we need a good looking black man in the
Oh my
office.
God. And then like I've always like been like, oh my God, he's so like just funny. Oh Lord, that's for me is everything. And then
Oh, yeah.
he's not hard on the eyes, he's my favorite flavor. But
Yeah.
what really got me was when he did the stand up that was like more recent on Netflix, where he was talking about Yellow Springs, Ohio, and he's like, "Yeah, my hometown, there's hippies, blah blah blah," and he's like, "I'm gonna have a strip club," and he's like, "I want all the hippie girls to like come dance in my strip club," and I was like, "Okay," and then he's like, literally,
Yeah.
you have to be barefoot and like
Like, do
rub
you
your
have like
feet
the,
in the dirt. Like he's like, you have to like rub your feet in the mud before you get on stage barefoot. And I was like, oh my God, Dave Chappelle loves me.
you're like, do you have an over 50
Yeah.
section?
I was like, oh, like, dude, I'm like serious mudfoot for y'all.
You want it under the nails? I'll get
Yeah.
it under the nails. How far am I from there? Like 3 hours?
Yeah, it's not far. Yeah, I've actually looked it up because there's been a couple times where I was like, if I ever have to go back there, like I'm like, because Yellow
We're going to
Springs
Yellow
is like,
Springs.
I always look up like, where's the safest place for a hippie to live? And for Ohio, it's like Yellow Springs is like the big hippieville. Just
Yeah.
like Dave says, but then it's also like McMansions, which I'm sure that's where
Oh,
he lives. Million
so we probably
euro,
couldn't afford it. We probably couldn't afford it unless we were like in a strip club.
right? And even then.
Rob, we're moving to Yellow Springs, but I have to be a stripper. I'll be like, okay, whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the basement area of Biosphere 2. We'll get there. We'll get there. So the basement area is known as the technosphere, and this is where all the electrical, plumbing, and mechanical systems are housed. There are 26 air handlers located in the technosphere. The air handler units can heat and cool the air, remove particles from the air, maintain humidity levels, and generate condensate water for rain, fog, and filling the ocean. So they're still controlling the environment,
Yeah, big time.
which, I mean, I think a lot of people kind of pointed to this as like a failure, but it's built into the model.
Yeah, I was gonna say how so? Because I mean, like, the whole point is to like make it so that we can exist in an environment where we're not even supposed to be. So like we're gonna have to use like technology is just like a natural part of like the humans anyway.
Yeah.
So
So there is a building with 5 arched segments and 3 towers, and this is the Energy Center complex. The Biosphere 2 laboratory requires continuous power to maintain proper conditions for the living organisms inside and for ongoing experiments. A temperature rise following a power failure on a sunny summer day could, within 20 minutes, irreparably damage the B2's biomes. So, boom. You don't want to ruin everything.
Right.
Honestly, like, how
Jeez,
devastating would that be?
that would be insane. I wonder how many
With
times they did have to like troubleshoot everything, because I'm sure they did have like rough starts.
Oh, sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, is that part of the 7 year construction or is that after
That's what
that?
I wonder, like for so much of it, like how they like did they was there when did they set the like when did they start the timer on like now we are officially like starting from this point? Because like did they have their farm established already? You know what I mean? Like how they grew
I was wondering about that too. They would have to,
because like there's no other way. Otherwise they'd be starving. They'd be like dude be like, "Just
unless
glad I brought
they,
some PB&J." Like
right.
smuggled it in.
Brought a
Yeah.
Lunchable. I brought a Lunchable in my.
Everybody's
Well,
lost like 40 pounds, Phil. Like, what's
I
up?
know. Well, I was thinking that too. I was like, so did they have food supplements until they got
They had
the
to.
garden going
Yeah, there
on
had
the
to have been
farm?
like starter kits or
Or,
whatever.
well, or like the starter MREs. No wonder
Yeah,
they lost
just
weight.
like the toothpaste tube of SpaghettiOs or whatever.
Oh, God.
Bleh. I'll take the weight loss.
Right. Starve. I'll starve, thank you.
It's all right. I'm on the Biosphere diet.
Oh my God. We
That
could probably.
Oh my God, they should like $1 million idea for it now. Like turn it into like a fat farm.
No, you and
Like
I. Oh, they could rebrand it as a fat farm. No, you and I should totally go on Facebook and be like, oh, the Bio 2 diet. We totally could. Why not?
you better grow your food, otherwise you're fucked.
People do it all the time.
Those super
They'll put our ad right next to the guy that's like, have you seen the ad for the woman that's like totally all ripped? And she's like, all you have to do is stop eating, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who falls for this shit?
No, I'm so fat that they like and they know it, so they give me the like you can do seated aerobics. They're like, you're far gone. You're like getting the geriatric workouts.
Oh my God, dude, for some reason, one day YouTube decided I should watch my 600-pound life. And then I clicked on it once. And now, of course, it's like all over. And I'm like, this is the most, this is so depressing. It's fucking terrible.
Well,
Ugh.
I can't say much because I totally watch hoarders.
Oh, for sure.
It does make me feel good about my messy, like my messy everything.
Uh-huh.
At least I don't have a dead
Right.
cat like hiding under it all.
Yeah. Like, I'm fine. The dishes have been in the sink for a week. It's good.
Yeah.
Within the five arches are two large generators. The primary generators use natural gas for fuel, and a backup generator uses diesel fuel. So clearly, these are vented
They
outside.
would have to be, yeah.
Yeah. In addition to the large generators inside the building, there are also boilers to heat water and chillers to cool water. The large towers are used to cool air by drawing it across a column of water. Biosphere 2 had to support life while not unwittingly pollute it with machines and materials whose presence might have unforeseen side effects. Everything that went inside was screened to avoid synthetic materials that emit trace amounts of noxious gases the life systems couldn't handle. Wool and wood were used for flooring, wall paneling, and furnishings in the living area. Chemical deodorants and cleaning supplies weren't allowed. Fires were not allowed, even on birthday candles. So do you think
Oh, you
like
can
they use like the good old vinegar cleaner?
probably or like hydrogen peroxide even, maybe. You know?
Interesting.
Mm.
Interesting.
I wonder if they're like BO is like kicking like karate
Oh, they probably just used like one of the stones.
principles. Yeah.
Yeah, like I looked at one of the women like 30 years later or like where are they now or whatever and
Yeah.
she totally looked like,
Crunchy.
you know. Yeah, like,
Nice.
was she before? I feel like scientists just
Tend to
as a baseline are kind of crunchy. Like it's
yeah.
not a hair and makeup
Right.
profession.
Right.
So the crew, also known as Bionauts, consisted of 5 Americans, 2 Brits, and 1 Belgian, 4 men and 4 women. They included a botanist, a marine biologist, and a physician. On September 26, 1991, the 8 pioneers entered Biosphere 2 to begin the experiment. Each day was filled with living and documenting that life. Farming took up to 25% of their daily routine. Research and maintenance took 20%, writing reports 19%, cooking 12%, biomanagement 11%, and animal husbandry 9%. That left about 4% of their time for rest, media interviews, and handling miscellaneous matters. So they had to like clean the bathroom and shit.
Funny.
They also built in off days for rest and to observe changes in the growing biosphere. How do you think they washed their dishes? They had like Doc Browners.
Probably. I mean, like there.
I bet you they brought in some Doc Browners. We got to look that
Yeah,
up.
like or something like that. Because I was gonna say there's like citrus soap that like works just fine at cutting the, and it's not funky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all,
it'll
it's
cut
all,
the
you could
oil.
brush your teeth with it, as we know.
Oh my God, the Bronner's. Ew, that's gnarly. It's like sucking on a soap, sucking on a bar of
Just don't
soap.
wash your hair with it.
Yeah. It makes your hair kind of sticky. Like I know a
Well,
lot of
they
dreads do it, but yeah, no.
well they say the trick is to you have to use like a citrus based rinse. So you
Oh,
have to rinse.
to keep
And
it.
so Doc Bronner's, they actually sell a rinse for it. Like
Oh
if you're going to use
wow.
it as a shampoo.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to use like 1 part Docs to 3 part water.
Yeah.
I tried it. It still didn't really, it was still kind of funky, but
Remember that? Like when you would read the label and it had like how to use it as birth control? Like
oh
Elfine
shit.
birth
Yeah.
control was on there. And it was like just put lemon juice up in your hoo-ha and it'll like make you like it's so acidic. I was like, damn, that sounds horrible. And then like then you could like douche with the Bronner's and it like because it's like pH neutral, it will like restore the balance in your hoo-ha. And that's like so you could use it as birth control. And I was always like, what?
Yeah. We're not we're not doing that.
That no, not putting lemon
Yeah,
juice.
if you go on the because I was reading the bottle a while ago and I was like,
I'll
I need
watch.
a little more. And I was like, I need a little more instruction. So I went on the website and they have um, like all the formulas and stuff that you're supposed to use it. That's how I learned about the how you're supposed to use it to wash your hair.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well,
They
and
do
then
a
I went
bunch
on.
of other products. Like
What's that?
they make nutritious bouillon and other stuff. Like there's other Bronner products besides like the cast style soap.
Well, when the Rite Aid up the street was going out of business and like everything was super super discounted, they had uh, Dr. Bronner's toothpaste, and I love it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't get all like if I use regular toothpaste now, like it's way too foamy. Like
Yeah.
even you put the smallest amount in. So
Hmm.
yeah, I really liked it. But yeah, you can go on their website
Yeah.
and get all the formulas if you need it. They grew their own food and raised and slaughtered livestock. They worked in labs, maintained equipment, and spent time in their living quarters. Growing good, nutritious food was a top priority, requiring everyone to work 3 to 4 hours a day for 5 days a week, which
At
actually
least.
sounds kind of not that much.
Yeah, that sounds like easy peasy actually.
I wonder how much. how much they weeded. It was like the Quakers who weed without ending.
I wonder if they rotated the chores or if there was like certain people who like to like milk the goats or you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
whatever. Like, so who knows?
everybody got the full experience.
Hmm. Did everybody wash their own dishes? Was there a dishwasher? Yeah, it's like, did people get mad
Right.
about the dishes in the sink? I bet, I bet that shit went down. You know it did. You They were there 2 years, so that's a long
Oh yeah.
time for someone to be like, Steve, when you take off your shoes, you clean the
God.
sink. Little like those roommate things we've all been through.
Did they have like fart vents and
Oh yeah. Or like you snore too loud or like well the women had their own rooms. They had to have had their own spaces. Otherwise, like
I'm sure, yeah.
I wonder if they all
Yeah,
have their own like apartments. Like that'd be kind of cool, you
you
know?
would have to. You
Yeah,
would have to have some privacy.
right. Or like if there was like a library in there, anything cool like that.
Well, yeah, because they were saying, oh, you mean just for entertainment?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure they had. You'd have to.
Hmm.
I mean, they're not trying to like, it's not like a sociology experiment.
Hmm.
I mean, it kind of is, but. So there were 80 crops that the group raised grains, which consisted of rice, sorghum, and wheat, starchy vegetables like yams, sweet and white potatoes, and mangolas, which I had never heard of.
Me neither.
Malangas, mangolas.
Mangalas. Mangalas. Give me some mangalas. What the heck?
Malangas.
Malangas.
Malangas, man.
Loves malakas. Malanga. Oh no.
So malangas are, it's a vegetable similar to the potato, also called cocoyam, which I had heard of. It is often confused with yucca, but the two are not the same, and it has kind of a nutty flavor, which
Yeah.
sounds awesome. I'm sure I can't
Yeah.
get them in this fucking Hill
I
Jack
see that
town.
about quinoa though too. So Hey, okay. Why does it look like little little, little squiggles?
They also had high fat legumes like peanuts and soybeans,
Yum.
low fat legumes like peas and pinto beans, 28 varieties of fruits and vegetables, including but not limited to beets, carrots, peppers, bananas, figs, tomatoes, kale, eggplant, onions, papayas, squash, and herbs. And finally, they had animal products, which included goat's milk, pork, fish, eggs, and chicken. The ration of meat was a quarter-pound per person per week. So they are essentially vegetarians
Hmm.
for the most part.
A lot of meat at all.
No, I would assume like one meal they would have
Right.
with
That's what
meat.
I was thinking is like I said, like I would totally give someone else my portion because it's like it would be easy to be a vegetarian there because they
Yeah,
barely had any meat. I mean,
yeah. A total of 3,000 species of plants and animals coexisted in Biosphere 2. Since they couldn't use chemical pesticides, they used biological controls such as ladybugs to eat pests. They imported 4 species of beneficial cockroaches to recycle organic matter. Unfortunately, household cockroaches and ants snuck in and exploded, threatening the crops.
oh, I bet.
There was one story I read where they they had baited the household cockroaches with some kind of food like in a little cup, but then they had the cup they had KY jelly in it.
Ew.
So
Yeah,
they
and
would
as we found out later, it was probably creeper dudes, KY. Like, where did that come from? Did you make your own from scratch? Don't think so. Like, who, like, brought in the KY? Probably some dude that, like, had cockroaches in his bag.
Like, well, they might have to take somebody's temperature.
Bend over. Mhm. Oh my god.
Look well.
I brought I brought plenty of KY. Don't mind the cockroaches in it. Oh, it's raining. Ooh. I only worked for like 5 hours today, but it was just like get stuff out, so
Too much.
yeah, it's a little too much. And it
They,
not to go off about my job, but like
no,
oh
it's
my God,
fine.
I'm working with these like there's new people and they're just like the store is not open, right? And so you're putting stuff out and like you'll clean a space and put stuff out and make it look nice and come back like 3 seconds later and it's like someone's put like 10 things on top of what you just did. And I'm like, dude, the store is not open. I know this ain't some weirdo customer doing this. It's like one of you
Right.
idiots. So
Seriously,
it's a little frustrating.
find your own spot.
Yeah, I don't say much because I'm like, I don't get paid enough to bitch that hard, so
Right. Your comforts, such as coffee made from beans from their young rainforest coffee trees, which they could make only once every 2 or 3 weeks. Like I would have tapped out right there. One cup
Yeah.
of coffee every 2 to 3 weeks. That's
But like
gross.
it was like that, I would have to like just like barely drink any coffee. Like I would have to like not well, I mean obviously that was the case anyway, but I might even would like because it's such a tease, I'd be like I really need a cup of coffee.
Oh, ugh, that would be the worst.
Yeah, I'd be like just let me huff the beans, that'll be enough.
Like, I guess I'll give you my ration of coffee
Right?
too.
Because like I just wouldn't want to get involved with it at that point. I'll just drink water.
For pizza, they spent 4 months growing a crop of wheat, which then had to be threshed and ground. Tomatoes, peppers, and onions had to ripen. That must have been really gratifying, though.
Dank pizza too.
Well, I mean, I've had like just a small garden, like nothing crazy, but it's just so like I grew food,
Yeah.
and now we're having it for
Y-
dinner. It's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Even I feel that way even about like when you grow your own weed too. It's like, yeah, this is the bomb.
Now I'm just growing like basil and I'm growing
Yeah,
some catnip.
and like you can do so much with them. It's like it's so good. Or just like even if you're like making a simple pizza and like being able to walk out to your garden and pick some basil and like add it in, just be like yum yum.
Yeah, every year for when Rob's making his dress stuffing, I run out to the garden and like get some sage and
Yeah, get all the good stuff.
awesome.
Yeah.
Last year, I was like so drunk, and he hands me the snippers, and he's like, "Go outside and get some sage." And like my son-in-law runs out there with me, and he's got like his phone, like trying to have a flashlight so I can see what's going on.
Aw.
Because of course it's November and it's
Yeah,
all
because of
dark
course
already.
it's like dark at 2.
Yeah. They raised a species of small pigs, pygmy goats, and 3 varieties of chickens. The chickens were a cross between the Asian jungle fowl and the Japanese silky hen. The aim was to get a laying hen that took care of its young. They were fed largely azolla, trapped insects, and pillbugs and cockroaches, and a small amount of table scraps consisting mostly of vegetable peels. So that's where they trapped the cockroaches in the
Yeah,
KY
yeah.
and fed them to the
Make
chicken.
yeah, good use.
This diet did not seem to be high enough in calories and fats to promote egg production.
Wow.
So that stinks.
Yeah, well, and like it's not like you could give them like the oyster shells. They probably can't like harvest enough of the shellfish that they had. Did they have shellfish? Or they just had shrimp? I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think they ate anything out of the ocean.
Right,
They
right.
didn't eat anything out of there. For the first year, 2 adult pigs were also kept in the system, and they produced a litter of 7 piglets.
Oh.
The, the pigs selected for the system were Ossabaw feral swine, a small pig known to do well on a diet high in leafy vegetable material.
Hmm.
However, they did not maintain weight well, and after the first litter, the sow did not become pregnant again. So
Hmm.
the decision was made to eliminate pigs from the system. The African pygmy goats proved very successful. 4 does and 1 buck were maintained on a diet of high protein fodder and roughage.
Mm-hmm.
The goats produced on average 1.14 kilograms of milk per day, and 6 kids were raised for meat. And for
Mm-hmm.
those of you like me who can never remember conversions, 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So about 2.5 pounds of milk per day. That's not bad. So with that, you could make cream
Mm-hmm. Butter,
or butter.
cheese, you know, goat cheese.
Love goat cheese.
Can make soap.
Yeah. They probably had to do all that too. That's really cool. See,
Mm-hmm.
they were rocking it.
Mm-hmm.
They also raised and harvested tilapia in rice paddies. Dozens of species of tropical fish and 2-foot-long giant Pacific clams populated the ocean. They didn't eat the clams, but they were able to go snorkeling in the world's largest man-made coral reef ocean.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
They probably ate the tilapia though.
Yes. Yeah, they did. Tilapia. I don't know if I put it here, but I do remember reading that they ate the tilapia. So, food production has been one of the important objectives in controlled ecological life support systems, or cells, which have been developed and researched since the beginning of the space age, especially in the former Soviet Union and in the United States under NASA. Do you remember that band Zig Zig Sputnik?
Yeah, vaguely.
Soviet and US work began with simple algae based systems, which did a fairly effective job of oxygen and water regeneration for animal and human subjects, but which proved unpalatable for meeting nutritional needs except in small quantities. So, like bean sprouts. Yeah, you couldn't just eat that.
Yeah.
The Institute of Biophysics in Siberia continued the work using algae and food crops in the Bio3 experiments. The experiments lasted up to 6 months, regenerating almost all of the air in the system, recycling 90% of the water, and producing approximately half the food for the 2 or 3 man crews. The NASA work in cells has focused on high yield hydroponic systems for certain key food crops.
Okay, I'm back. Hey,
Hey,
I
okay.
don't know. I think my laptop is like running low. I have it plugged in, but it's just not that great. So,
In the 1986 Breadboard project, work was scaled up to include the integration of food production, water recycling, and atmospheric control. The crew became inventive with dishes and flavors. Each of them ate more than a pound of sweet potatoes a day. As you may know, if you eat a lot of foods containing beta carotene, your skin can turn orange.
yeah, it's
This
true.
is because This is because not all of the pigment is converted to vitamin A. It's called carotenemia, and outsiders noticed and grew alarmed at the change in their complexions, but the color change is completely harmless and will fade with lesser amounts. The crew humanely killed and processed domestic animals, and for some reason, this caused disbelief and curiosity among visitors. Despite not using chemical fertilizers or pesticides, the farm was the most productive half acre in their world. They grew 83% of their food. The doctor who monitored the caloric intake daily and gave them frequent medical tests called the high protein, low calorie meals a healthy starvation diet. Okay, so it says they grew 83% of their food. So is the rest of that like the animal products?
Yeah, but that's considered raising, you know, so
That's what I
yeah,
would
that
think.
would be probably lumped in with like what they raised, like or grew. I don't know.
Okay, so they don't specifically say that.
They're like sponsored by Cliff Bars. And they have like a secret stash.
They don't
Yeah.
specifically indicate that they supplemented, but that tells me that they had to supplement with something.
Yeah.
The doctor had pioneered the high nutrient diet at UCLA's med school, but no one had studied its effects on humans. His research indicated that their bodies became highly efficient at utilizing nutrients that they consumed. They were able to gain back some of their weight losses after their bodies adjusted to an initial 1,800 calorie a day
Wow.
regimen. As they became better farmers, their caloric intake increased to
Hmm.
2,200. Some assert that they were allowed or forced to starve in the name of science and to their detriment. But
They probably realized that that was probably part of the deal. I bet they had to sign a waiver. You know, I'm sure.
well, right, and it doesn't kill you to be a little hungry
Of course not,
sometimes.
you know.
You know what I mean? Like wild animals are not like, oh, I'm gonna have a snack until my next
Have you
squirrel.
ever watched Alone or, Naked and Afraid?
Oh yeah.
Totally. Like those people are like, I'm starving. Better get off your ass and go kill something. Or find some roots to chew on, something.
Yeah.
Kill a snake.
Get a get a tamarind
Yeah.
tree, whatever.
Something. Something. Yeah.
Despite the limited food supply, they learned how to make treats for special occasions. They made cheese, ice cream, and fruit smoothies. They even made banana wine, rice beer, and beet whiskey, which sounds awful, and they reported that it was. Why would you even bother?
When people try to like invent the wheel again, it's like, dude, there's a reason that we're not like, beet vodka or whatever. Because it's like, no.
Might have just been like something fun to
Yeah.
do,
Hmm.
you know?
Too bad that they couldn't like get the chickens to lay, because like I was gonna say pickled eggs with beets in there. That's pretty good. I mean, that's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
Midwestern thing, but we used to make those all the time. They're tasty.
I like anything
Oh,
pickled.
then you would love this. Like you just like, you pickle eggs, but like you put beet juice and like put the whole beets in there with some cloves and stuff, and it makes it taste so good. We used to make them for Easter. Um, you know, it's tasty. My mom always would make.
A couple years ago, my friend Danielle, she's a
Mm,
farmer in Illinois, and she had sent me like a harvest care package. It was like beets and squash
yum.
and all this really cool stuff. And so I wanted to make these beets for Thanksgiving. And I looked up this recipe, or no, I'm sorry, she sent me a
Mm-mm.
recipe of like how to make these beets. And
Yeah, that's yummy.
yeah, and it was like heavy whipping cream or like coconut
Wow, that
milk. I don't
sounds
know.
good.
It was like this really rich. It was. And Rob just kept going like, who likes beets? Who's going to eat beets? And I'm like, I
Me,
don't care if I'm the only one that
I
eats it.
love them.
I was like, I don't care if I'm the only one that eats them. Like, I want to make this. And my stepson came over and he's like, beets, where's the beets? I'll totally
Yeah,
eat
they're
beets.
delicious.
He was like,
Mhm.
yeah, he was all into it.
Mhm.
The farm livestock and biomes were thriving. The weight of all the plants was more than doubled and maintained remarkable diversity despite their small areas.
Wow.
The desert, for example, transformed from an area dominated by cactus to one populated by shrubs and trees. They let this process unfold and allow the biosphere to evolve how it would. That's pretty cool. Like, we made this desert,
Mhm.
but
Let's see.
we're just going to do something else.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah, you gotta adjust a little bit.
Other biomes had to be carefully tended in order to remain stable. For example, the reef in the ocean thrived in part because the crew removed sunlight blocking algae and managed its water quality.
Mm.
In the rainforest, morning glories became invasive, and the crew was forced to spend hours yanking down the vines.
I know. When they said that they had morning glories, I was like, somebody was like, "Oh, they're so pretty," but they will. They'll take over big time. And even if you like rip them down, when you're ripping them down, they're planting themselves again. They love to volunteer. Got to watch out for those morning glory
Yeah.
seeds.
Oh my gosh, shit. I wonder if that was in addition to their farming or they, what area of their day did that fall into? Maintaining
The morning
maintaining the
glory seeds
biomes.
to
Oh,
make you jump.
well, plants, they just do that. Oh no, that's yeah, morning glory
I
seed.
thought it was
Oh,
wind rose. Yeah, something like that.
no, I thought it was
That's so funny.
morning glory
Mhm.
seeds. Let's see. Can you trip on morning glory seeds? It's the first thing that comes up on Google. The ingestion of Ipomea violacea seeds produces effects comparable to those produced by Argivera nerosa
What's
seeds.
that?
These effects, although minor, are similar to those of
Oh,
LSD.
okay.
In general, seeds are ingested whole or broken and immersed in water. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
They had a careful and meticulous way of recycling everything. Nutrients were returned to the soil through the recycling of dried plant wastes and through the water recycling system as irrigation water. Wastewater from the human habitat and the animal bay was first held in tanks where anaerobic bacteria began to break it down. It was then circulated in aquatic lagoons where water plants and their associated microbiota continued the digestion. Treated water from the lagoons was then mixed with the subsoil drainage water and condensate water to maintain a total dissolved salt level below 1,000 parts per million before it was returned to the soil as irrigation water. Most of the non-human edible plant material was fed to the animals. All the solid waste from the animal bay and any plant material that could not be fed to the animals was shredded, dried, and dug back into the soil in between planting. A small proportion was composted or fed to the worm beds. As a portion of the animal fodder had come from pruned materials from the wilderness ecosystems, a portion of the dried, shredded material was also returned to the wilderness ecosystems as a mulch. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
they
they
thought of
just
everything.
they just recycled everything.
Hmm.
Every
You
yeah,
got to.
everything. That's the really I think the amazing part of all
Yeah.
this is that everything was just able to be reused.
Hmm.
I mean, it all just had a part
Uh-huh.
in their process. Mark Nelson, in his article printed in Dartmouth Alumni Magazine, states, "We reveled in the day-by-day sensual pleasures of each biome's distinctive smells, sounds, and landscapes. We celebrated our world in poetry, film, writing, art, and music, and interbiospheric art festivals with outside artists."
That sounds cool. Mhm. That's really cool. Mm.
I know.
It does sound like a
For
cult.
entertainment,
Oh, no.
yeah, so culty.
Mhm.
They're arting. They're making art.
They have their friggin' acid test.
It's like the Hessler Street Fair.
Mhm.
For entertainment and a kind of companionship, we brought in bush babies. These tree dwelling nocturnal African animals weigh 2.5 pounds and live on fruit and insects. Their monkey like curiosity led them to explore all parts of our little world. So we just had little
They're
bush
so
babies
freaking
running
cute.
around. I know, that's awesome. So I wonder if, well, I guess not. I was going to say, I wonder if um, they had like doors between each of the areas, but then they were saying like the bamboo would shield the salt from the ocean area
Mhm.
from getting into the desert.
Yeah, that's so cool.
As you can imagine, some interesting and troubling social interactions also emerged. The crew found great satisfaction in caring for their animals and even gave them names. The milking goats included Milky Way, Stardust, and Vision. Totally culty names. Two of the pigs were named Zazu and Quincy, and one of the Daffir chickens was Mrs. Fruitcake. I know the story behind that. Crew members could meet friends and family at windows or via telephone, but inside it was just the 8 of them. They grew to know each other by just a footstep or how someone breathed. They contracted a syndrome psychologists call irrational antagonism. They split into 2 groups of 4. A power struggle over the project's direction made things much worse. One side wanted new management and to reconfigure the mission priorities by de emphasizing closure and spending more time on science. The other side wanted to keep the project's leadership and the objectives intact. It was really pretty awful, one crewmate later recalled. I could be so cold to the people in the other group, walking by them and not even looking at them. While there were no fistfights, one crew member complained years later that she had been spit at twice.
Oh, I pity like, I'd be like, I ain't the one. You better have your running shoes on. Oh, hell no.
That's pretty extreme.
Mm.
A psychologist was brought in to assess the situation, but determined that it was a normal group power struggle and didn't intervene, which,
Yeah,
good,
don't mess up
you know?
yeah, don't mess with the experiment because like that's all part of it, the humanness, which like it's that we're always the undoing of everything. So
Yeah. They're like, well, we're just going to let you guys duke
just
it out.
do.
When a tour guide leading a group of students around the outside of the facility asked Linda Lee by telephone what they would need to be trained in order to work inside the biosphere, she responded, they must learn to work with people they despise in order to get a job done, which, welcome to the real
Yeah,
world.
that sounds like just normal, like going to work, working for the press of man.
Mm-hmm. The crew worked on healing the rifts by reading books on group dynamics and having homegrown group therapy sessions. They made every effort to keep their conflicts in the open. No matter how much they disagreed, they continued to work together. It helped immeasurably that everyone was committed to Biosphere 2's success. And that's really what it comes down to. I mean, nobody was like, or, I mean, they may have been like, get me the fuck out of here, but they never went. I mean, I'm sure there were moments of, I can't do this anymore, but that's so normal.
Yeah, well, there was bouts of that, but we know the what happened. Like,
Well, that was
yeah,
later.
the
That
guy
wasn't
was
this
like being a
experiment.
creep. So
Yeah.
it's, but that's all a part of it too. It's kind of sad to say, but that's someone being like not in control of their like animal nature.
Yeah. From the outset, they agreed they wouldn't trivialize their experience by talking about their sex lives. When asked, the generic answer was people are people. Everything you might expect to happen with people has happened in here. Which part of me is just like, really? Do you?
Yeah, because there's
I
not
don't
that many
know.
of them. There's like 8 people. So it's like,
But like, why does it even come up?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and like, well,
That
who
just seems.
brought the KY? Like, so
well,
who's there?
I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen, but who's
I'd be
some little
looking
kid
at
in
who's all coming. Like you're kind of like, who made the short list?
right? Is it like the dating game? Do they
Probably.
they had to pick
And
a
they obviously didn't screen people. Did you see that the Woman of the Hour yet on Netflix?
no, not
Oh,
yet. I know that
yeah, that's
story,
good. It's actually pretty good.
but I like uh what's her
Anna
name?
Kendrick. Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. But yeah, no, I know that
Yeah.
story. Several months in, oxygen levels began to fall. Rather than throwing in the towel, they studied the problem and its effects. After 16 months, the oxygen level had dropped from 20.9% to 14.2%, the equivalent of living at a 15,000 feet elevation. Half of them suffered noticeable symptoms of altitude sickness like headaches, nausea, and vomiting, loss of appetite, fatigue, even when resting, malaise, which is a general unwell feeling, trouble sleeping, and dizziness. That sounds like it sucks.
Kidding.
What was uh the death zone on what's the Mount
Mount
Everest,
Everest,
Everest
yeah.
Inc.
Hmm.
What's the death zone?
That's so like,
We should do an episode on
yeah, oh
that.
yeah, totally.
What is the death zone in Everest? Oh, 8,000 meters or 26,247 feet. So more than halfway to the death
That's
zone.
scary. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you think about
They-
like you would still have to do your farm chores and all that, like because you got to maintain the food and everything. So you'd
yeah,
have to still just go about your daily routine, like even though you're like exhausted, you know.
and feel like you're going to throw up and your head hurts.
I milked the goats. That would suck. I'd be like secretly going in my room and like have my secret oxygen container.
Little outside influence as possible. Telling your room, you're like,
Ben, they're like like in Blue Velvet. We're so fucking suave, Ben. Don't you fucking look at me! Don't look at me! Oh my god.
oh, Jesus. Jesus H. Christ.
Jesus wept. You have to say it like Pinhead, though. I always do. I'm always like, Jesus warped. That's
It got so bad that they ended up asking the on call outside medical team to consider overruling the doctor's decisions about the crew's well being when they noticed that he could not add a column of numbers. Jesus, how long was this going on? How long were they at this decreased oxygen state? Eventually, they decided that they couldn't go on like this, and so refrigerated trucks arrived to pump pure oxygen into
Can you
Biosphere 2.
imagine like how euphoric they were? Like your oxygen gets you super high. Like, oh my God, they're like,
Yeah.
woo! I feel so free and well informed.
And well oxygenated.
Whee!
I felt like a born again breather praising oxygen, said Mark. A born again breather. It was one of the most dramatic physiological revivals of my life. How many physiological revivals has
Like, even when you're dehydrated and you drink water, you can literally feel your like all your cells like just singing. So I can only imagine how
yeah.
it is with oxygen like coming back into your body. Oh my gosh.
Prior to that, observers said watching them work was like viewing a slow motion dance.
Sorry.
Oh, and then I came across I don't think it has anything to do with the oxygen, but I guess they had made like a music video and people were saying it was like early on and people were saying that they could tell how emaciated they
Oh
were.
yeah, well,
Like they should have done one during the oxygen
yeah.
deprivation
Oh, that
time.
would have been wicked funny. They should have like done it when they were like getting the oxygen in there, because like
Yeah, like why
oxygen
are there not more
period, like
videos?
they were high as hell. I'm walking on
There had to be, well,
sunshine.
I guess that was before the time of like everything being um recorded all the time, like
Oh,
CCTV,
oh yeah. Well, like, wait,
you
when did
know,
this go down? Yeah, like they didn't like,
1991.
yeah. So yeah, definitely not. Now would be the time to do that again when everybody has like TikTok in and like,
Well, yeah, and you could have a live
yeah,
stream.
like the whole time.
Like, oh,
Get body
did you ever see that movie, A Dolphin's?
Huh?
What's
Oh,
that?
I was saying they could have
Did
body
you ever
cameras.
GoPros?
Yeah.
They could have GoPros.
Yeah, and like when there's like scuba diving, everything. It'd be so cool.
Did you ever see that movie, A Dolphin's Tale?
What? Like I'm thinking of like the game Echo. I'm like, no, I don't think I watched a Dolphin's Tale.
Well, it's this true story about this dolphin that had like lost its tail, and they created this basically a prosthetic
Oh,
for this dolphin. But so it's a true story, and you can go on the website, and they have like a 24-hour
mm,
cam of the dolphin. And so, like, you're watching the movie and it's like all this action and like this music, and like you go and view the webcam and it's just like,
hanging out like, hey, got a
yeah, this
cigarette.
dolphin just like running around in this indoor
Oh
pool.
my God, like totally off subject, but I was laughing so hard. Someone put up a reel on Facebook and it was like they were at a SeaWorld, which I thought like those were all gone, but it was like an orca goes swimming by in the big tank and like poops in the water. Like it's like a cloud of like poo water and then like goes by again and like is like splash, like doesn't jump. So the poo water just like went flying on everybody. And I was like, you best believe that that was 100% intentional. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's what you
oh
get.
yeah, you deserve it.
Oh God, I can't even.
Put on like Blackfish or something. Yeah,
Oh God,
upsetting.
grab your.
I
Ugh,
was like, that had me
that was.
bawling.
Oh, girl,
Yeah. Like,
that guy in the beginning when he was talking about when they went to capture that baby dolphin, and he had, or the whale. I'm sorry.
some of them chasing them down and like figuring out where, like tricking them and figuring out which way they went and like yeah, that guy was just like, I can't believe I was involved, and he was,
Yeah, and he's like, what do you
yeah,
do? You can't
yeah, it's pretty awful.
say
It's
anything.
awful.
Ugh. Yeah, that was
Poor
terrible.
things.
So what happened, or yeah, what caused the oxygen to go down? Microbes in the organically enriched soils had produced carbon dioxide at a greater rate than the young plants could produce oxygen via photosynthesis. Most of the missing oxygen was converted to CO2 and had been absorbed by the unsealed concrete in the habitat. So I read that that was like a flaw in the, like, I don't know if they meant to seal it and they missed it, or they just didn't think to seal the
Yeah,
concrete.
you would think it's like
But that
so
was that
crucial,
was
you know, because
yeah.
the whole idea is to seal it
Whoops.
up. So, well, I mean, live and
Okay.
learn, and it's like again, like they're playing at being Mother Nature, and like everything that's here is like here because of how many like millennia of like evolution and trial and error and like so I commend them on doing a job well done, because if that's like the only problems they ran across, that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the right, like the very few things that
Mhm.
did go wrong is nothing compared to what they were able to accomplish.
Like the people-y like hating on each other, that's only natural, that's like you
Yeah,
know
especially for two
Oh
years.
yeah. Well, with any animal, like there's always that like rank, like there's always the
Yeah.
alphas, and it's just like naturally that way. It's just evolution.
Well, even just like we have three
Mhm.
cats, and there's very clearly a
Oh yeah,
hierarchy
absolutely.
in there. It's really cool. It's really cool to watch them. We have a shelf that's like way up at the top near the ceiling, and they say like the cat, it goes in hierarchy, like the cat that's the most dominant will get up
Hmm.
there. And like, so we had the dominant cat and then the other cat that would go like just halfway up on the other
Hmm.
shelf, and then the one cat that won't even get up there at
Hmm.
all. And so Stara, who's the most dominant, yeah, she's like up
Yeah.
there, but then just recently a little bit has started going up there.
Oh,
And at first, yeah, like at first she would get up there and chase him down, and now she just lets him go
yeah.
up there. But they never go up there at the same
Right.
time.
They do. That's-
Yeah. And Ace is still just like, I don't know what's happening.
He's a dude.
He's so he's so
Is he an
You're
orange
Stara now.
cat?
Oh, orange cats are the
Okay.
worst. Oh my God. I'm sorry if you have an
I
orange
have
cat.
a cat. I
Anybody out
love him to
there?
pieces, but he was definitely special.
They're crazy. There's like a whole thing. There's a whole girl on like YouTube. I don't know if it's TikTok or YouTube Shorts, or not YouTube, Facebook Reels, that has like a whole orange cat thing. Didn't you send me one
Maybe.
where the cat was like attacking her?
Oh yeah, the one that's like, oh yeah, he looks so crazy. Oh my God, whenever I see that reel, I like that it cracks me up. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I still
Oh,
have it in here somewhere. No, it's fabulous.
so freaking evil. He's like, ah, his face. She's like, stop it. I'm
You're
like, you're gonna have to do more than stop it, honey.
wretched.
That's it. That's it. You're wretched.
You're listening. We love you. Like more, 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 more.
I, I'm over this. I was like, if that was my cat, oh my God, he'd be like flying like a frisbee.
Oh my God, he'd come right back at you. Like,
You're ridiculous.
now I got
Huh?
wings.
Yep. Yep. Red Bull, you're out of here. That would be his new name. Red Bull.
Red Bull. What's your cat's name? Red Bull. That's interesting.
He's got wings. Oh my Lord.
One of the key components of the experiment was complete self-sufficiency. Okay, so this is where I got a little confused. So if you remember way back at the beginning
Yep.
of the episode, I said put a pin in with as little outside contribution or
Yeah, because
interference
like the
as
percentage
possible.
of the food too that they like consumed, it said they like consumed what, 80 something percent of their own. Right. So
83%.
what do you think
So this is where
80%?
I kind of start going, okay, like maybe they're not being completely
Mm-hmm.
forthcoming. So it just makes me wonder.
You know.
Yeah.
Did any of them write
Uh,
books about their experience or like their books out there?
yeah.
Yeah, see, we did like maybe we
Yeah.
should like read what they write and like come back because it'd be interesting.
That would be
Yeah,
fun. Well,
it'd be interesting to
I
know
did
all
read
the
the,
like in depths, the ins and outs of the drama too, because I love a good drama.
I
Surprised there's
hope
no
it would be
Lifetime
in there.
original film.
Well, well, the article I read was so like, it was so beautiful and lovely and,
Yeah,
it
bullshit.
just kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, it
yeah,
probably was though, because they probably all like, they're scientists, so they're like wanting it to succeed, like, and especially if they're putting their name in on it. And then if it is successful, that there'll be like way more funding poured into it. So like, like how the woman was like, you gotta learn to work with whoever, do whatever it takes to make it
yeah.
happen, you know.
You got to work with people you can't
You
stand.
gotta, you gotta
Well,
lock
welcome to the
me
real world.
in. We're gonna win because we want to win. Okay. So we're gonna make it work. Back
Sorry.
to smuggling oxygen. We're gonna make this work. It's like have your own secret plants in your room, like have like a bunch of orchids in your closet. These are just for me. Come on, guys. Yeah. Secretly growing weed in your
Oh,
closet just because it makes more oxygen.
especially if you blast it with
I
helium.
do. Yeah, it makes it like bud up real nice. Oh my God, yeah. Well, hallelujah.
Oh, hallelujah.
Mhm.
One of the key components of the experiment was complete self sufficiency. Nothing could enter or exit the sealed biosphere. However, after 8 months of being inside, Bionaut Jane Pointner cut off the tip of her finger in a cooking
Ooh.
accident. The medical officer sewed the tip back on, but it didn't take. It shriveled up and turned black within
Dude, she
days.
waited that long too. She's like, I'm totally dedicated to sparkle motion. She's like, oh my God.
Fingers turning black.
You have to go home. It's like, I don't want to go home. I've so been there. I'm having too good of a time,
Um,
starving
I know.
and depriving myself of oxygen.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Not like it a lot. Yeah, was this during the low oxygen period? I feel like this
Like,
is later on. Well, no, seriously, because they'll put you in those like the oxygen
yeah,
chambers to heal
it's
wounds and
it's
stuff.
just like
So that's
mushrooms.
interesting. So I wonder if this was part, or maybe the guy just didn't
That
know what he
sounds
was doing.
gross. It sounds like it got necrotic and like, ew. Mm.
Oh, I would have
Yeah.
panicked.
And like, well, it's such a sterile environment, but not that sterile. And like, I mean, staff probably is still, you know, well, someone would have had to have staff for it to be there, but still,
Yeah.
like, you could get some sort of like gnarly infection.
Oh, for
Yeah, that's
sure.
gross.
Yeah. Ugh. So Mission Control decided to remove her to receive medical attention. Pointner returned with two duffel bags. To this day, their contents are still unknown. As a
Oh,
result,
wow.
many have questioned the credibility of the entire experiment. But I think that's a little excessive. I mean, it could have been a million
It
things.
was like a freaking couple cases of ramen.
Right. Well, that's what they're thinking. Like they snuck food in. But it could be first aid supplies. What's that?
Microwave popcorn and freaking ramen. Jars of peanut butter.
Oh, yeah. How are they cooking if they can't have any fire? Oh, they must have had
Electrical
like one
or
of
microwave or
the
yeah.
stove.
It's
Yeah.
so funny.
But it could have been, I mean, it could have been books, games, could have been a million things. Like people always gotta, they're cheating just because you would. So I don't know about you, which I mean, we've kind of discussed, but this is all just mind boggling. Like I was saying, there are just some projects that are so impossible, and there's always someone that's like, yeah, I'm in. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just sometimes, yeah, I can't even like get my house clean.
Like how much paperwork is involved? Because they had to do lab time and all that too, and experiments and like,
Okay, so here's kind of a difference between like the article that the one guy wrote. Like he was saying like, "Oh, we had to farm and none of us had farming backgrounds." Well, part of their training was learning how to farm.
I'm like, come on, it's not rocket science, but like, yeah, there's a lot of troubleshooting with it though, for sure.
But they didn't just throw them in there and were like, "Okay, now you got to grow your food." Like that was part of their training.
That's the other part is like how we were like I'd be curious to know how established the farm was before they like officially started the time clock or whatever.
Yeah. No, that is an interesting thought. Well, maybe that's where that 83, that 17% came from. Maybe they,
Like their starter food maybe.
yeah.
How they give them a bag of rice on Survivor.
Well, yeah, well, because how long? Well, what's a fast growing plant? Like a tomato plant is probably the fastest, but that still
It still
takes
takes time. Oh man, it
months.
takes a while. Yeah. I was gonna say it depends, like,
Interesting.
because like certain foods, they come up first, but like you have to have them like established like the year before, like asparagus or something like that. Like that shit comes up pretty soon, and uh,
Oh, asparagus takes like 5 years, doesn't it?
like that's what I mean. Like once it's established, though, then
Oh,
it'll be early, but like otherwise, no.
yeah. Yeah, maybe that's where. Interesting. Interesting. I need more information.
For sure. And then why not do hydro? Too. But I guess that's like too much power involved. I don't know. It's weird. It'd be interesting to know like how much power they use because like didn't they like they were trying to be self-sufficient. Did they use solar power? They were in the desert, you know.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Well, they had
Who knows?
the what do you call it? The generators.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
That's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the generators, so they had, but those were, I thought they just said they were backup
Yeah, that would
generators.
make sense. And then if they're in the desert, like I mean, if anything, they would be able to like that's another thing. Like how could they regulate the amount of sunlight they were getting in there? Because it's like you would think that they would want to control it a little bit with like their food and stuff, or I don't know.
Well, they'd have to have some sort of climate
Yeah,
control
for sure.
because otherwise it's just a big
Oh my God,
greenhouse.
or you would melt. You would literally like
Yeah.
greenhouse effect.
Well, that's why they have the generators, because if there was a power failure, it could get too hot in there and it can destroy everything. Yeah, so they had some sort of climate control. I'm sure it was in here somewhere, but it was a long time ago.
Mm.
On September 2nd, 1993, their mission was completed. When the group emerged, they were in remarkably good health. They had the body fat content of pro athletes and lower blood pressure and cholesterol levels than they had going in. Their health depended on the biosphere's health, and they had achieved that. This experiment made headlines around the world. Early, it was reported as the project that will save the world. Then it suffered the inevitable mockery and dismissal. And I have to wonder why. And I think it just really, people just want to shoot something down.
Plus, they were really ahead of their time. You think about like it was the early 90s. The information age was just like starting to go mainstream, like just beginning to. Like we were just started like 93. I don't think any of us like really had email or any of that shit yet. Maybe some of us did, but like, yeah, we didn't have access. And then we still went through all the years of like, you've got mail and like that level of the internet. Now we're like, it's like literally like I can look that up on my phone that's in my pocket. And, you know,
Yeah.
we got our tricorders. Basically, we're Star Trek now.
And I wonder how much of it was like, oh, they spent so much money. I mean, people like still NASA, they're like, what the fuck are they spending all that money on? It's such a waste. And, they don't, I think it's the higher the,
James Webb alone is so freaking cool. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, we have more proof of aliens than Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I just feel like the higher the price tag, the more people
Oh,
are apt to just be like,
that, you know, jeez.
yeah. Scientifically speaking, biosphere could not sustain a balanced ecosystem and therefore failed to fulfill its goals. But this experiment was so much more than that, and you're only cheating yourself if you stop at the technical conclusion. To me, the biggest failure in this project is the public's reaction to it and their unwillingness to recognize and integrate the working aspects of it into their daily lives and into the world as a whole.
How far in were they before the oxygen problem became an issue?
It just said several months.
Oh, so like they were at the beginning of it. So
Yeah.
that like that's why people were probably like, "Oh, it ain't gonna work," because if they had to like have supplemental oxygen in the beginning. But I mean, that's like only natural. Like our planet went through that. Like we evolved through all of that. Like plants and animals adjusted like what they are because of you know what I mean? And so like the same thing has to be done with the biosphere. It just has to like they need to not give up. If anything, they need to pour money into it again and like keep trying, keep trying
Yeah.
because I don't know. They need to. Like they're gonna need it.
Yeah, because 2 years really is not that long of a
Mm.
time.
The part that scares me though is like it there should be and it's like, oh, here we go. Like you want to keep it all separate, but like there's got to be laws in place for like who donates to stuff like that because like, that smacks of something that like, Elon Musk totally wants to like be like, I'm gonna get us to Mars, rah, 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 rah. And like meanwhile, like you see him like jumping around like a little jumping bean at the Trump rally, and it's just like, dude, no, we need someone who's like Switzerland. We need neutral, like we need no like anything.
Well, I imagine it, if you're asking for private funding, you could deny any funding that you wanted.
Like no red tape with the money. Yeah, like no, yeah,
Yeah, like we don't
no
want your,
pandering, no
yeah,
lobbyist bullshit. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. It's just, yeah, you're strictly just donating. You're not. Well, we'll get to that.
Like sponsored by Coke. I'm like Neil Young. I ain't singing for nobody. They think I'm.
So I wonder sometimes when I read about stuff like this, like Prince gave like tons of money and never wanted, like they say you could be like if you have solar panels on your house, Prince could have paid for that, but you would never know it because he just didn't advertise where he was donating to.
Yeah.
So I always feel like this is something I could totally see him
I wouldn't
like,
be surprised. The
you
purple
know,
one.
yeah. So it's interesting to think who, I mean, because the funding, it's still going. So,
We'll have to go check it out,
um,
man. And then we'll have to make
I'm
a bunch of reels.
yeah,
Hmm.
shorts. Um, but of course, the group encountered problems. But an experiment is created to observe results that were not previously observed. So if you
Part of
don't,
it, like it's just like how people want to talk about climate change, but they don't want to include like humans as part of like the natural thing. Like they want to like leave us out, like and what we've done on this planet. Oh, that's like not part of it. And I'm just like, dude, we live here. We are definitely an integral part of it.
oh,
Like,
right.
holy shit. So,
Yeah, the fact that you don't
hmm
understand the web is everything that's wrong.
hmm
Um, so the success was that they found a way to correct these issues. Even when their oxygen became concerningly low, they didn't abandon the whole thing. But having oxygen pumped in seemed to make some people gleeful that they had to resort to outside help. And I just wonder, like, what were these people doing that were so grand in their lives?
There's other scientists that got like left out of the whole thing, and so if I did it, it would be so much better.
Right. You had oxygen pumped in. I mean, obviously, in some experiments, all human elements should be removed, but when the experiment is to gauge how humans survive in an environment, like you were saying, the human component is part of the experiment. And some people call this pseudoscience, and I just completely dismiss that. That's all I'm even going to say about that. I'm not even going to entertain what that
Yeah,
means.
you're just jealous.
But right, yeah. So I came across a Reddit thread. I've discovered Reddit in all my researching of all my
Oh
episodes
my
and
God, it's
stuff.
so
But I came across this Reddit
hold on.
thread where someone,
Oh, I was
what?
just saying down the Reddit rabbit hole.
Oh, the Reddit hole.
Totally. It is though.
So I came across a thread where someone had said that all of the trees died because they failed to provide a source of wind. And so wind is necessary to give plants exercise and it makes them stronger. But the statement that they forgot this and all of the trees died is just somebody just made it up. It's just false.
It's
False.
like not that like PS, dude. Whoever said that, like, yeah, like wind does help, like a tree to like increase its tensile strength, but literally just existing anywhere where there's like the level of gravity that we experience on this planet, like that in itself will like increase your tensile strength. That's like that's how every living thing, like your bone density, all of that is gravity contributes to that. So
Yeah.
there.
But boom.
Mic drop.
But I know, like, again, at the pot farm, like we had fans in up in the grow room so that they could, so they didn't forget that. Yeah, this fucking guy. So
Shut up.
not only
Man.
Shut up. Not only did this group learn to survive and thrive in this environment, but they continued to persevere in a world that had become completely foreign to them. Emotionally, stepping outside must have been a huge culture shock. Biosphere 2 was our baby, Mark said, and we had grown and been transformed by it. We felt a oneness with it, a deep visceral connection.
Well, how could you not?
He
It's
can,
your own little world that you share with only 7 other people, and you think about how big that place was. Like, I bet they still get sentimental about it. I definitely
oh,
would. I'd be like, I'm not leaving.
yeah. I'd be like chained to the,
Stay.
we'd be chained to one of the columns.
with my
You
with
can
my oxygen. You gotta make me go back out there with everybody. I can't.
I just got a deja vu of oh, did you ever read that story? It's the Russian sleep experiment.
Mm-mm. No.
Oh my God. You gotta look it up. It's a fictional, but they don't know it's like on the internet somewhere and they don't know who wrote it. It's really good.
Okay,
Look it
I'll
up.
look
The
it up.
Russian sleep experiment. But that totally just reminded me of
Oh, Lordy.
Mark continues, my first trips to supermarkets were strangely disorienting. I went back to eating meals without knowing where and how each ingredient was grown, harvested, and processed. I realized my former world had no trash, packaging, or pollution causing cars and no annoying absurd
I wonder if
things.
any of them like went
Every
back to eating meat like in a big way. Like if they ever, because like meat like consumes like the production of meat like involves like tons of water. Like cows give off methane big time. They're just like it's not a good. So I wonder if any of them like kind of gave up the meat or like just like cut way back or something once they came outside.
yeah, that's an interesting. We should do a follow up like, where are they now? Yeah. Yeah, we're totally going to do that part two. Um, Everything in Biosphere 2 made sense. It was an incredibly sensitive world. Everything we did had consequences and greatly increased our mindfulness.
I bet.
Sadly, much.
Oh, I
What's
was
that?
just gonna say, I bet, because like it's so obvious when it's like on that scale, like how intricate the web is, how you are a part of everything, and like you still got to feel that web tugging on you once you're outside, like they're just like hyper aware of like their involvement in the grand scheme of
Could
things.
you imagine? It must have been so
Yeah,
traumatizing.
exactly. But to get away from that guy too, like, ooh.
Yeah. Well, that was the
Oh,
second
sec-
mission. Sadly, much of what they learned went unappreciated. This is heartbreaking that an experiment that took extraordinary commitment, intelligence, and perseverance had gone down in history as a failure to the casual onlooker. But a million visitors came to peer into Biosphere 2, and millions more followed the news accounts. So I feel like that's just kind of yeah, we know the truth.
yeah.
Like, we're just going to do our thing, and haters gonna hate. Haters before there were haters. Biosphere 2, the greatest experiment ever conducted in ecological self organization, revolutionized the field of experimental ecology. They proved that a sealed ecosystem can work for years with minimal outside interference. They were able to help keep stressed reefs alive and gained greater understanding on how to protect rainforests. The farm showed that high productivity and full nutrient recycling could be done without toxic chemicals. Well, it looks like I lost Leland, so we're going to end it there for today. That's a pretty big episode. And next time we are going to follow up, or I'm sorry, we're gonna start with how what the experiment concluded, the conclusions of it were, and what was the aftermath. So if you like this episode, please hit the subscribe button and give me a 5-star review. I also have a YouTube channel now where you can see this in video. It's Lady Ayla Nicole, and all videos can be found under WTF Science Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. We had a blast. Bye.